This is Ben Goertzel, the CEO of SingularityNet, True AGI, and the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. And a lot of people have been asking me the last week or so about DeepSeek, the new large language model out there. And so I thought I'd take a few minutes to share some of my thoughts. I mean, I've played with DeepSeek just like a lot of other people, and I've also read the research paper behind it. It's cool. It's quite interesting. I think it's a significant advance. I mean, it's not like a incredible, overwhelming revolution in AI. It's not even as big an advance as, say, the invention of transformer neural nets by Google Brain way back when. But I mean, it's certainly it's a big step forward, and I want to talk a little bit about why and what kind of step forward it is, because I think a lot of the reactions I'm seeing out there are quite a bit off base. I mean, DeepSeek, it's a significant efficiency gain in the LLM space, right? And that's cool. I mean, that will have a big impact on the nature of LLM applications, on the economics of LLM applications. But I mean, this efficiency gain, it's not like a fundamental breakthrough toward AGI. It's not like a fundamental shift in the center of gravity of AI innovation. It's more like a faster than expected leap along a trajectory that we knew we were following anyway, rather than like some sort of disruptive paradigm shift, right? I mean, it's much like phenomena we've seen many times before. Like I was doing computer graphics in the early 1990s, and if you wanted to render an image in the early 90s, it took a high-end supercomputer to render an image. Now you can render an image on your phone. Face recognition used to be an expensive niche application. Now it's a commodity feature on a low-end smartphone, right? And so you knew the same thing was going to happen with large language models. They start out expensive, they start out needing huge amounts of compute power, and they wind up cheap and commoditized. So none of that's surprising. What's interesting is just how fast it happened, right? And how suddenly it happened. But wait a minute, hold on, we're supposed to be on the dawn of the technological singularity, right? I mean, Ray Kurzweil foresaw singularity coming in 2029. Well, the notion of the singularity is as you get there, technological advances happening faster and faster and faster until it seems to be happening, almost incomprehensibly fast to the human eye. Well, this is exactly the kind of thing you would expect to see as you get closer and closer to the singularity is advances happening way faster than your intuition would lead you to expect, because our intuitions they're sort of tuned by evolution for linear thinking. They're not tuned for exponential thing. And what we're seeing now is, the kind of exponential advance you see as you get close to the singularity, right? And I mean, DeepSeek is just one of many, many interesting moments like this that we're going to see as the last years before the singularity unfolds. So what's going on under the hood in DeepSeek? The main achievement here is some very clever techniques for optimizing efficiency rather than some sort of redefinition of the basic transformer architecture underlying language models. DeepSeek uses a mixture of experts model, which is a well-established kind of ensemble learning technique. It's been used in machine learning for years. But DeepSeek uses mixture of experts alongside some other efficiency tricks to minimize computational costs in a quite clever way. So, I mean, mixture of experts, you have a whole bunch of different sort of internal agents, each of which is good at a different thing, and you combine together their results to get an answer. And this has been used in transformers and language models for a while. But the way DeepSeek uses it allows just a small percent of a large network to be used at any given time, like to give a certain answer. So if you have like 671 billion parameters, maybe 37 billion are needed to answer a given question. So you have like 1/18th the compute power is needed to answer the question, right? So you're wasting a lot less compute power by not using parts of the neural network that aren't actually needed for answering the question in order to answer the question. And DeepSeek makes much heavier use of a learning technique called reinforcement learning, where you reward a network for doing what you wanted to and sort of punish it for not doing what you wanted to. And then this reward and punishment propagate back through the whole network to modify all the weights between the neurons in the network. So all large language models are trained partly using this sort of reward-based reinforcement learning and partly using other sorts of supervised learning and training on data sets. DeepSeek sort of doubles down on reinforcement learning and uses mostly reinforcement learning. In particular, they use reinforcement learning to train on reasoning, much more so than any other previous LLM approach seemed to, and that seemed to work super well. And they also used multi-token training DeepSeek to predict multiple pieces of text at one time, which increasing the training efficiency. So putting all these sorts of optimizations together, you get DeepSeek to be like an order of magnitude cheaper than OpenAI and Anthropic and so forth for training and for inference, right? So this is a really powerful and meaningful engineering refinement. I mean, it's not a conceptual leap toward AGI. It's not a whole different way of doing things, but I mean, speeding things up and making things cheaper by a factor of like 10 or 20 is pretty amazing. And I mean, and it lets you rethink the whole economics of what you can do with LLMs, right? Another really interesting thing about DeepSeek is its embrace of the open source approach, which is quite a contrast to the walled garden strategies of, for example, OpenAI, which, in spite of having open in the name, has never really followed a terribly open strategy. In fact, if you looked at OpenAI's website back in the very beginning when they first launched, you could see they were hemming and hawing and saying, well, we'll be mainly open, but when we judge it's most appropriate not to be open, maybe we won't be. It turned out, well, they judged it was almost never appropriate to be open. Anthropic, most others in the US AI scene have followed suit, with the notable exception of Facebook, which under the direction of Jan LeCun has opened up their Llama AI models and a whole bunch of other amazing stuff. Well, DeepSeek has opened their model. They published a research paper describing what they did. And I mean, this I think is an amazing positive thing. Open source AI fosters rapid innovation, broader adoption, collective improvement. I mean, business-wise, proprietary models do let companies capture more direct revenue in some ways, but the open approach, on the other hand, leaves plenty of business avenues open, and it allows a much broader community to contribute to development. It makes tools available to more researchers, companies, independent developers. I mean, the hedge fund high flyer that developed DeepSeek is not a charity, right? I mean, they know open source AI is not just about philosophy and doing good for the world. They know there are quite valid, solid business models that come along with open source. You can do services, enterprise integration, hosting. You can use your own model to make money on the markets, right? So I mean, I think it's fantastic that this huge step forward in the efficiency of LLMs has been rolled out open source. And I think it's quite cool that this big open source thing has come out of China as well. I mean, China has been doing a lot in AI for the last couple decades, but has not been such a big mover in open source. So it's really quite interesting to see China moving in a big way in an open source direction. I mean, via private enterprise rather than governmental action, but still bubbling up out of the whole Chinese AI ecosystem. And, while the combination of open source in China isn't all that famous and common, I'm not at all surprised that a breakthrough like this on the science level came out of China. I mean, I spent 10 years living in Hong Kong and spent a lot of time in and out of mainland China. So I mean, I saw firsthand the huge scale of investment in AI research in mainland China, huge number of brilliant AI PhDs there, and the intense focus on making AI powerful, cost efficient, and rolling it out at huge scale across the whole country, right? And obviously, beyond just AI, this is not the first time China has taken Western innovations and then, optimized them for efficiency and scaled them up at an unprecedented way, right? Like China is actually often very good at scaling up efficiently. So you could look at this in a geopolitical rivalry sort of way, like, okay, China is not going to be left behind in the AI race. But I would look at it more as a step toward a more globally integrated AI landscape. I mean, I think beneficial AGI leading on to beneficial superintelligence is just way more likely to come out of open collaboration and open source tools coming out from parties all over the globe than to come out of proprietary work being done in nationalistic silos. A decentralized, globally distributed AGI development effort rather than a monopoly by a single country or company, it's going to give us a way, way better shot at making AGI systems that serve humanity and all sentient beings. What are the broader implications here? Well, first of all, I think LLMs, while powerful, they're not the future of AGI anyway. So, I mean, the implication of faster, better, cheaper LLMs for AGI are somewhat limited. As Gary Marcus and others have pointed out at great length. I mean, transformer neural nets, which is the key technology underlying large language models like DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Llama, and so on and so on. I mean, transformer neural nets lack core cognitive capabilities. I mean, they lack the ability to direct their own reasoning based on an understanding of themselves and their relation to the world. They lack the ability for grounded compositional abstraction. I mean, they're not going to really grow into autonomous human-like minds that can take big leaps beyond their experience. LLMs appear to be general because their training data is so general, but they can't actually leap very far beyond their training data the way that people can take wild, crazy, imaginative leaps. That said, I mean, LLMs can automate a huge number of economic tasks and transform maybe every industry. And I mean, lower cost, faster LLMs can speed up that process, which is fantastic. But in terms of the pathway to AGI, I don't particularly think faster, cheaper LLMs helps that much. It may help a little bit because LLMs may be part of the scaffolding that helps you get to AGI. If we look beyond AGI, though, just in terms of AI investment and the impact of specialized AI on different industries, I think the commoditization of LLMs, which DeepSeek exemplifies, has tremendous potential to shift AI investment in various ways. I mean, DeepSeek's efficiency gains, they accelerate the trend of LLMs becoming a commodity, right? And as LLM costs drop, first of all, investors will start looking to other stuff toward the next frontier of AI innovation. Okay, LLMs are a commodity. Well, maybe we go to neuromorphic chips. Maybe we go to humanoid robots. Maybe we go to neural symbolic or evolutionary AI, different architectures beyond transformers, right? But also, I mean, now that we have smaller, faster, cheaper LLMs, I mean, we can deploy them on decentralized networks. We can put them on the edge, right? It becomes much easier to deploy AI models in decentralized networks like we have at SingularityNet and the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. So I think DeepSeek and the other models like it that will surely soon follow are really good for the decentralized AI ecosystem for every AI blockchain project because they make it just so much easier to roll out big decentralized networks with LLMs at the nodes. Putting these points together, I mean, overall, I think DeepSeek is sort of an interesting milestone on the path to what I think of as a kind of AI Cambrian explosion, right? I mean, the Cambrian explosion was a point in the history of life on Earth when you had a huge proliferation of different forms of life in all different shapes and sizes, right? And I think having faster and cheaper LLMs, in a way, it can do that, right? It makes high quality AI more accessible and more affordable. It reinforces the inevitability of exponential progress in AI and the international scope of cutting edge cutting edge AI development. I mean, not that long ago, Sam Altman was saying, well, it's kind of hopeless for startups to do anything with merely $10 million. Well, now it's pretty clear that's not so true anymore, right? We can have a much greater diversity of startups, research projects, nonprofit efforts, making real advances in AI. I mean, for my own research projects with OpenCog Hyperon, with Singularity, with the ASI Alliance, previously people were saying to me, well, sure, you're a reasonably big project, but you don't have hundreds of billions of dollars. Like, even if you have better ideas and algorithms about how to build AGI, like, how can you hope to compete when you don't have billions and billions of dollars of centralized servers at your disposal? Well, since DeepSeek, I mean, that idea doesn't seem so sensible to people. People consider it a lot more plausible that, with the relatively modest amount of wealth at our disposal, like a crypto project with merely a few $1 billion market cap, could be able to compete with the big boys and make the breakthrough to AI and super intelligence, right? So I mean, I think there's a practical role that DeepSeek makes LLMs, you know, cheaper and better and more widely accessible. And there's also a psychological role that DeepSeek indicates, there's not just a couple companies that can be at the cutting edge of AI. It's a much more open landscape than that. And I think that's a very powerful message. I always knew it was an open landscape. That's why I'm working as hard as I can to build a beneficial thinking machine with my colleagues at the ASI Alliance, right? But I think that point is much more clear to a much broader variety of people post DeepSeek. I mean, I think that sort of market crash in AI stocks and tokens after DeepSeek was announced is, in a way, a little bit silly. I mean, I can understand it from a market dynamics standpoint, and that, like, Nvidia's stock had gone way up because people thought there would be a huge shortage in GPUs because all these big companies would need to buy all the GPUs and they'd be vying to buy them. Then Nvidia's stock went down when people realized that ridiculous shortage might not be as bad as they thought. Then many of the same investors who invest in other AI companies and token projects also had money in Nvidia. They lost some money, so they pulled money out of other AI projects. I mean, you can see how the market dynamics would lead to a crash like that post DeepSeek, but fundamentally, the rational impact of DeepSeek on the equity and crypto markets for AI is great. It's like you can do more AI with less money now. This is tremendously good for everyone in the AI market. Like, it's just one more piece of evidence the singularity is coming fast, right? And if we want the singularity to be beneficial, we need to ensure it remains decentralized, global, and open. And the fact that DeepSeek came from China, from a different side of the world than most of the recent AI innovations, and that it's open source. I mean, this is a beautiful piece of evidence that the singularity may well be beneficial because AGI may well be decentralized, global, and open, right? So, I mean, DeepSeek certainly isn't AGI. It's not like a revolution. It's an efficiency optimization. It's a step along the way, but it is an exciting step in this like overall dance we're all doing in this final few years before the singularity that's going to bring us AGI and ASI and a whole bunch of other amazing consequences.